Duque, pick up the phone.
Yo.
What's up?
What you doing, son?
I'm zombie but awake 밤비가 내려wake Can't wait no time is a game so I just put it all my way I'm zombie but awake 밤비가 내려wake.
What is good, my crazies? Y'all, welcome back to the lab. Lee here in the stoop, man. Y'all saw that title, so as well, we got 8 new Mandela effects for you to blow your mind, put you at ease, or maybe just make you feel a little bit more crazy. Yes, I said 8 more Mandela effects for you. But before we get this going, please remember that some of these Mandela effects might not be new to you. They might be new to somebody else, though, as well as y'all hit that thumbs up button. If you enjoy this at any time, subscribe and leave me those comments down below so we can do a viewer's Mandela effect once again. Now, to get onto this new 8 Mandela effects to blow your mind, let's go ahead and start off with the Salem witch trials. Yes, everybody knows about the Salem witch trials. Basically, it was about all these people, they were doing witchcraft, and the city burnt them to the stake. Well, apparently they didn't burn anybody. They didn't burn anybody at the stake. They didn't burn the witches at the stake. They didn't burn a single soul through this whole Willem Straits trial. They basically hung them. As you look it up, as you see it, they hung the witches. There was no fire burnings or nothing like that. They hung every witch, which is totally wrong in my universe because I remember the stories of them burning the witches to the stake. That's the only way you could kill a witch. But what do you remember? Do you remember them being burnt at the stake? Or do you remember them being hung? And just so everybody could see them. Next on the list, number 7 is going to be RoboCop. Yes, the great iconic movie RoboCop. The cop that's murder turned into the cop that finds his own murder. This is just one of those great movies, and as well as been remade a few times. But with this Mandela effect, there's actually 2 of them. I'm going to start off with his feet. Yes, I know this is a weird thing. Why will we be looking at RoboCop's feet? But I remember his feet being straight boot, like a straight metal boot. But now his feet has toes, kind of like a Ninja Turtle toes, but has little lines in it. I don't always remember that. Maybe this is my Mandela effect. I think it was Super Mario Brothers too. But it looks really weird to me. But do you remember that always being like that? His toes being with those lines looking like a Ninja Turtle? Or do you remember the straight metal boot? But my Mandela effect and the Mandela effect of this RoboCop one is that saying at the end of the original movie where basically he shoots old dude, he goes down and, you know, the main boss asks him, nice shooting, son, what do I call you? And well, listen.
Nice shooting, son. What's your name?
Murphy.
Nice shooting, son. So what do they call you? Murphy. And then he walks off. That scene is totally wrong. It's messed up. It's not right. This reality has fucked this scene up to the fullest. Now, if you're like me and like a lot of other people, you remember that scene when he asked, "Who are you?" That's when RoboCop turns and says, "My friends call me Murphy, but you can call me RoboCop." And then he walks off. That was the iconic scene. But like you just saw right there, that never happened. He never says it there. He never says it in that movie. Let alone, he doesn't say it in the second movie neither. The only time he says it is in the 3rd movie. Here, look.
Hand it to you. What do they call you? Murphy, is it?
My friends call me Murphy. You call me RoboCop.
I always remember the end of RoboCop, the original. That's the iconic scene of falling out of the sky, out the building, and RoboCop being at telling old dude, you know, so he said, good shooting, son. What do they call you? My friends call me Murphy, but you can call me RoboCop. And then he walks off. That was the scene. That was the end of the movie. That was iconic. We said this all the time. You can call me Murphy. You know, it's just what we say. But what do you remember? Do you remember that scene, that iconic scene being the way it is now?
Murphy.
Or do you remember this scene the way I describe it to you, the way you kind of see it in the third one at the end of this? My friends call me Murphy, but you can call me RoboCop. Now, number 6 on our list, we're going to go to Mario Brothers. Yes, Super Mario Brothers, the original game for the NES. And we're going to be talking about World 1, number 1. The first stage you play when you turn that game on, and the thing that is in it, well, was in it. Now, I'm going to play you this whole scene 1 for you real quick. And I want you to pay attention to everything that's going on. Now, this stage is a stage where you learn the mechanics of this whole video game itself, and you get to see almost every character that you're going to see in this game. Well, if you're like me, you remember the little praying mantis little thing, the little praying mantis plant on that level coming out of those tunnels, out of the portholes where you would go down into the next ones. But they're not there. They have never been there. They have never ever been there on stage 1, number 1, and they have never been there ever. That is crazy to me because I'm a Mario Brothers guy. I had a Nintendo. We played that game nonstop to the T. Even when I got the Wii, it was just iconic, and I remember them stupid praying mantis plants in that level because that's when you got the firepower and you learned you can kill those things with that. But what do you remember? Do you remember always those little plants being in stage World 1-1? Or do you remember the way you've been seeing it right here on the screen with none of them at all? Number 5 on this list, I am going to go to The Wizard of Oz. Yes, The Wizard of Oz has given us great Mandela effects. It happens to be the Mandela effect gold mine sometimes. And it just is one of those movies that just keeps on changing. Well, it's done it again. And well, let me pop a picture up of Tin Man. Now, does anything look weird to you with the Tin Man? Does anything look weird? I mean, technically to me, he looks weird, totally anyway. But I am particularly talking about the neck attire. Yes, you see right here on the Tin Man, he has a bow tie. What? When in the hell did the Tin Man get a bow tie? I have never seen that bow tie on Tin Man ever in my entire life. When I saw this, I heard this, I saw this, I looked this thing up, I lost my freaking mind about this. He has a bow tie. It is ridiculously crazy. I don't know what to think about this one. What do you remember? Do you remember the Tin Man always having the bow tie? Or do you remember the Tin Man the way I remember Tin Man not having that bow tie at all? Let me know. Now, number 4 at the halfway mark, we're going to be talking about the Scary Movie. Yes, Scary Movie and Marlon Wayans and that famous line that he quoted from that great movie, Sixth Sense. Well, listen.
Can I tell you a secret?
Sure, man.
I see white people.
Is that exactly how you remember hearing it? Exactly what he said? I see white people. Well, what if I told you, and everybody who thought that, that is exactly not the way he said it at all in this reality at all. He never says white people. This is the original saying, which you will see in this reality today.
Secret?
Sure, man.
I see dead people.
Yes, you heard it. He says, I see dead people. And we all know that wasn't the line because these movies were spoof movies, and that was just a great line in our lines that he would say white people, but it has always been dead people. It's never been white people. And what do you remember of this? Do you always remember it the way it is today as I see dead people? Or do you remember it like I remember it being I see white people? Now, number 3 on this list, we are going to talk about the World Trade Center. Well, technically not the trade centers themselves. I'm talking about the building, the hotel that was right there, right in the middle of the World Trade Centers. I'll throw this picture up for you right now. Does this look right to you? Have you ever noticed the hotel, the Marriott, right there in between the trade centers? Let alone, do you remember anybody talking about any destruction, any people dying, survivors, or destruction about that hotel when those towers were struck? Me neither. I don't remember that. I don't remember the hotel being there. I don't remember nobody talking about this thing when the trade towers went down. Nobody said anything about a hotel being right there, getting crushed or being destroyed or damaged at all. What do you remember from this time of iconic moment in American history? Do you always remember that hotel, that Marriott, chilling right there in the middle, just having a good stay? Or do you remember it like I remember that, like not even being there? It just looks weird to you. That's the one that is just really creepy and eerie and just a time in history that we all remember now being flickled in time. Kind of staying on the eerie part, number 2 on this list is going to be Jigsaw. Yes, Jigsaw, when the little Rick rides on in and that iconic saying, "Do you want to play a game?" Well, what if I told you that we said that totally wrong? I said it totally wrong, and maybe we've all thought it was totally wrong. What if I told you he never ever says, "Do you want to play a game?" or "Would you like to play a game?" Well, listen.
I know you. I want to play a game. Here's what happened. I know you. I want to play a game.
Yes, you heard it right there. He did say, "I would like to play a game." I never remember it that way. I never remember him saying, "I want to play a game." I always remember, "Do you want to play a game?" And that's just weird to me. But then I sit here and I think about this one, and maybe we misjudged that, and maybe it's like I can understand why he would want to play a game, but he's not playing the game. They're playing a game. So "do you want to play a game" would be the more common phrase to say that, but it's his game, if that makes any sense. But what do you remember? Do you remember it like I remember it? "Do you want to play a game?" Or do you remember it the way it is now? "I want to play a game." Now the last one on our list, number 1 for the day, we are going to Star Wars, and we're going to be talking about Jabba the Hutt and Princess Leia. That iconic scene where Princess Leia is the slave of Jabba the Hutt, and they catch Luke and they catch Han. And well, as you look at this scene and you see, oh yeah, the gorgeous, lovely Princess Leia being subdued by Jabba the Hutt. And well, then you see these. Did you see these Uggs on her feet? Where did she get those shoes from? Like they took a Jaja or a Chum Chum and cut it up and made her some Uggs. Now the Mandela effect is that she was originally barefoot in this scene. I remember this scene. I do remember her being barefoot in this scene. If she wasn't, some also remember having little sandals that kind of rolled up like the Queen or Egypt or some stuff like that. But I do remember her having bare feet in this scene. And now, as you see, like it's always been, she has Uggs. There's Uggs on her feet, like literally Uggs. This is totally crazy. What do you remember? Do you always remember the Uggs on Princess Leia in that scene, in that time? The Uggs? Or do you remember like I remember it, no shoes, barefoot, or maybe possibly those Queen of Egypt kind of shoes that lace up? What do you hear in the stoop, man? Y'all saw that title too as well, man. We got 8 more Mandela effects to blow your mind. Yes, 8 new Mandela effects to get you going. Talk about this simulated generated world that has been switched around by some kind unseen force that we just want the answers from. But before we get this going, man, y'all remember some of these Mandela effects aren't new to you, but they will be new to somebody else. As well as, man, y'all remember to hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed this at any time. Leave your comments down below so we can talk about Mandela effects and talk about those you see in an upcoming video, as well as subscribe, because every bit helps this channel. Now, with that said, let's get on to the Mandela effect. Let's start a quiz for you. So we're going with number 8, and we're going to be talking about the food pyramid. Yes, the food pyramid that we saw posted on every freaking classroom, lunchroom, and pretty much anywhere that had to do with health and your food wise, personally for your body. I'm talking about the food pyramid. Yes, the triangle, talking about, you know, the meats, the breads, the dairies, the wheats, the veggies, all that good stuff. But the quiz for you on this one is, when did the food pyramid see its light of day in schools? Now, was it the 70s, 80s, 90s, or the 2000s? Well, if you are guessing the 70s, you're wrong. If you're guessing the 80s, you're even also wrong. Apparently, it didn't hit U.S. schools until 1992. Yes, it's crazy. This is weird. I remember being in school, learning about the dang food pyramid and what it was about in the 80s. A lot of people also remember the food pyramid being out in the early 70s too as well. Well, apparently that is not the case. As you see right there, it has always been 1992. Now, yes, it was made in 73, but it didn't hit schools until 92, which makes no sense at all. But what did you remember? Did you get this quiz right? Did you get it wrong? Let me know those answers down below. Now, number 7 on our list is going to be Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and that iconic phrase when she's talking to the mirror, and I'm talking about the witch, is talking to the mirror and asking who's the fairest of them all. Well, listen.
Thou know, my queen.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?
Now, if you remember it being said like that, then you're totally wrong. It has never been mirror, mirror on the wall. It never has been mirror, mirror on the wall. It has been and always has been magic mirror on the wall.
Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?
Yes, it has always been magic mirror on the wall. In this reality, my reality, it has been mirror, mirror on the wall, will always be mirror, mirror on the wall. The reason why it's mirror, mirror on the wall, even Disney made a movie, Mirror, Mirror, as well as you see the horseman. I'm gonna play it for you here in a minute. She also says mirror, mirror on the wall.
Mirror, mirror on the wall.
Now you heard it both ways. I showed you the first clip of the original of her saying mirror, mirror on the wall. That's how I remember it. And the scene you saw, the next one where she says magic mirror on the wall, you notice that you do not see her face as she's saying magic mirror on the wall. And then the last one, as you saw the horseman one, you saw her say mirror, mirror on the wall. As you see, we remember this as mirror, mirror. As you see, it's changed now. These days, a lot of people also remember this being magic mirror on the wall. But what do you remember? Do you remember mirror, mirror? Or do you remember magic mirror? Now, number 6 on our list, we're going to talk about the one and jolly old fat man, Santa Claus. Yes, as you take a look at Santa Claus right here, is this how you remember Santa Claus looking, especially his jacket? Do you notice the buttons on his jacket? Like I remember the buttons on his jacket that wrapped around and he had his little belt, but I'm talking about the buttons on his jacket. Well, if you remember that and you believe that's what Santa Claus looks like and that's what his jacket looked like, I have to hate to tell you that it is totally wrong. Your memory is wrong. It has never had buttons on it. It has always been either a jacket or a white little scarf down his list. As I'm showing it down there, it looks so weird to me. Like many of you, I do remember Santa Claus having the buttons. You can see evidence right there. The picture you saw was the Coca-Cola commercial picture of Santa Claus, and that's exactly what I remember him, with the buttons on him. But what do you remember of Santa Claus? Do you remember him always having buttons all the way on his jacket? Or do you remember the way it looks now with that fleece white fuzz? I don't know what you want to call it. Number 5 is going to be that classic movie with Tom Cruise in it, and that awesome scene in Risky Business where he slides across the floor in his white shirt, his Ray-Bans on, and he starts singing that amazing song. Wait, white shirt, sunglasses? Did I just describe that wrong? Check it. That is right. You heard me describe that whole scene kind of right, well, at least his entire wrong. Yes, as you see, he has a pink shirt on now, which is so weird and off because I remember it. I just described it as white, as well as where's the Ray-Bans at? Where are his sunglasses at? I distinctly remember him sliding in with his sunglasses on his face, Ray-Bans to be precise, in that white shirt. And you know, his tighty whities, and he started singing and dancing. But apparently that scene has never been the way I've ever described it, like a lot of us do remember that scene. Apparently he's always had the pink shirt, he's had the no sunglasses, and it just looks weird. With that though, there are evidence of people in the white shirt and sunglasses doing this scene, as well as you see the Simpsons picture come up, and people on there, so you see it. white shirt, sunglasses. With that too said as well, there is actually a Party City outfit for Risky Business, and as you see, the sunglasses right there too as well. Well, and white and pink shirt, there's two different ones. But what do you remember? Do you always remember that scene with him sliding in with the white shirt and the sunglasses? Or do you remember the way it's been now, and it's always been, with that dumb pink shirt and no sunglasses? Number 4 on this list is going to go to the Bible, the book, the biblical thing, the #1 best-selling book in the world. If you want to put it that way for years on, you know, it's just what it is, the Bible. Well, the Bible has changed. It's been changing, and I am talking about the lion that laid with the lamb. Well, I said that wrong because apparently the lion never laid with the lamb. It has always been the wolf laid with the lamb. And that just seems really odd because, you know, we have always taught, if you've always taught, the devil wears a wolf in sheep's clothing. You know, there's a wolf in sheep's clothing, and it's just so weird that a wolf would lay down with the lamb. I always remember the mighty lion laying down with the lamb just because that's what the lion represents, kind of the king, the mightiness of what their pride of what it is, laying with the lamb. And well, it's never been that way. It's always been wolf. It's always been the wolf lays with the lamb. It is very odd. It's very weird, as well as very mystical and eerie that the book, the biblical book that apparently was written by God, is changing. Number 3 on our list, we're going to be talking about the great old bucket of chicken and the man behind it, Colonel Sanders and KFC and the logo. Now, this was brought attention from my man DYK. It kind of does look weird to me. Take a look at these logos right here. Does something look weird? Do you always remember the Colonel's kind of like chest body with the apron around, all colored up that way? I don't always remember that. I mean, it kind of looks weird to me. I do understand that, you know, times change, people do change their logos. But with that said, I always remember just the face being part of his logo, like you see on the bucket. You know, it is just what I remember. It's just an iconic thing. Maybe that's because, you know, you really just look at the bucket of chicken of the man on it, but he does look awfully weird. I don't always remember that whole body, like half of his body sitting there. I just don't, it just looks weird to me. I don't know what to think about this. It could be a Mandela effect. It could be maybe a perception of what we saw, or maybe it's just something that is a Mandela effect, or something that we're seeing is changing in its face. Who knows? But what do you remember? Do you remember the Colonel's face just being the face, like kind of the face, the symbol of his logo? Or do you always remember kind of like that half body of him? Let me know down below, because this one kind of does boggle me a little bit. Like I said, it does look weird. It has changed a bit, but I just can't pinpoint it. Now, number 2 on our list, we're going to be talking about the classic Pixar movie, Toy Story. Yes, the beloved movie Toy Story that all has a little kick to our hearts. We all wish our toys came to life. And I'm talking about the scene where Woody's talking about something being in his boot. Yes, that iconic scene where Woody says, "There's a snake in my boot." Well, how about he never said, "There's a snake in my boot"? Listen. Yes, you hear it right there. There's a snake in my boots. Plural, boots, boots, B-O-O-T-S. I could add some more O's to it, some S's to it, but yes, you heard, there's a snake in my boots. And I never remember that scene being that. I always remember him saying, there's a snake in my boot, not boots, not plural. But with that said, look at this.
There's a snake in my boot. There's a snake in my boot.
Now, as you saw the Woody doll right there, the doll, the pull string dog said, there is a snake in my boot. That's exactly how I remember it. With that, this is even creepier because that's the first Toy Story movie where he says he's a snake in my boots. But in 2 and 3, he says boot if you go back and listen to it. But what do you remember? Do you always remember Woody saying, there's a snake in my boot? Or do you remember the way it is now, there's a snake in my boots? And number one for the day, numero uno, we are talking about Johnny Jett and the Black Hearts and that great iconic song, I Love Rock and Roll. Yes, put another dime in the jukebox, baby. I love rock and roll. Oh, dance with me. Boom, boom. But this has to do with the first verse when she comes in and she sees that guy by the record machine. Well,
by the record machine. I saw him dancing there by the record machine. I knew he must have been about 17.
I saw him there dancing by the record machine. That's exactly what you heard. Dancing by the record machine. Now my reality, how I remember, how I always sung it, and a lot of people have sung this too, it has always been, I saw him standing there by the record machine. It was never dancing by the record machine. And I know in the video he's swaying, he's kind of dancing, but it really wasn't dancing. It was always standing. I saw him standing there by the record machine. Now you gotta understand this is a remake from the other one, and it was different verses. The other one was I saw her standing by the record machine instead of he, but that's two different groups. But what do you remember of this song? Do you always remember it the way it is now? I saw him dancing by the record machine, or do you remember it like I remember it and millions of other people remember it? I saw him standing there by the record machine. There you go. Welcome back to the lab. Lee here in the seat, man. Y'all see little Nala too as well. She's the cutest little kitty in the world. And y'all saw that title too, man. We're talking about 8 new Mandela effects to blow your mind. Yes, 8 new more Mandela effects to get your mind going, to talk about, to get you thinking about this reality it is. But before we get this going, man, y'all remember that some of these Mandela effects might not be new to you, but they are new to somebody else. Just put that in the back of your head. As well, man, hit that thumbs up, subscribe, and leave me your comments down below and with your Mandela effect so we can do a viewer Mandela effect. Now, without further ado, let's get going. 8 new Mandela effects to blow your mind, to get you talking to your peeps. Now, we're going to start with number 8, and I'm going to start with a little bit of a cuteness one because I did have my little kitty cat in my hands, and I'm going to be talking about the dogs playing poker. Now look at this picture. As you see, the dogs playing poker. This is an iconic painting picture, tapestries, you name it. We have seen it growing up as a kid, even myself. But there is something totally odd off of this. Now, in my reality, and a lot of realities too as well, I remember one of those dogs, particularly probably the one in front, little bulldog, that always had a little green visor that was on his head, because it kind of significant that he was the dealer of the game. But it is not there anymore. There is no pictures of any dogs with any visors on top of their heads in any of these pictures. And that is very odd to me because I vividly remember, those visors. At least 1 or 2 of them on one of those dogs' head. But what do you remember? Do you remember the visors on the dogs playing poker's heads? Or do you remember it the way it is now with no visors on any of the heads? So crazy. Number 7 on this list, we're going to be talking about the moon. Yes, the moon itself, and technically what's happening to the moon. Now, my whole life, I've just believed the moon is up there. It has no life. It has no water. It's just dust and whatever, minerals and stuff like that. And it looks just like a gray regular moon, right? Well, apparently it's never been like that. Apparently it has been rusting for years and years and years. Even when I wasn't even born, it has been rusting. It is so weird. I've never ever heard of the moon rusting until now, actually, and I looked it up. I was like, what? The moon is rusting? But do you always remember the moon having rust or rusting, or ever hearing about the moon turning to rust and rusting up? Or do you remember, like I remember, like it just being a moon and it's up there with dirt and dust, and nothing can really do anything up there? It is odd to me, as well as, the rumors of the moon, of it being hollow, maybe a spaceship or something they placed there. It kind of makes sense in a way that this is an artificial just structure in the sky, but I've never ever heard until I looked this up about the moon rusting. What do you remember? And have you ever heard about the moon rusting? Let me know about that in the comments. Number 5 is going to be that wonderful vampire movie that started some vampire movies in the world that made it kind of sexy and cool and and I'm talking about Interview with the Vampire. Yes, Interview with a Vampire is this Mandela Effect for number 5, and I said it totally wrong to you because apparently it has never been Interview with a Vampire. It has always been Interview with the Vampire. Now, I remember this movie when I was a kid. I was actually living overseas. I remember when this movie came out, and it was Interview with a Vampire. It is so odd and weird to me. There's even people that reference, even if you Google it the same way, both ways I said it, it still comes up, Interview with the Vampire. But what do you remember from that? Do you remember this title always and always being Interview with the Vampire? Or do you remember it like I remember it, like other thousands of people in the world remember it as Interview with a Vampire? Number 4 on this list, we're going to lighten up the mood. We're going to go to the classic Disney movie, The Jungle Book, and that awesome scene where he's singing, I wanna be like you, walk like you, and I'm talking about Baloo and that iconic dress and scene where he's got his good old straw dress on and his coconut bra and he's singing around and he's dancing, I wanna be like you. But apparently I remember that scene wrong, like millions of other people remember that scene wrong. Apparently he doesn't wear a coconut bra like I remember and like millions of us remember. Here, take a
Days of bones about Bobby.
Abadoo-dee.
Will a reap another?
Ebba-dobba-doy.
Will a la bazini?
Waddle-a-but, woodle-a-but.
Steeple a doody. Will a ha 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 ha. Get mad.
Yes, as you see Baloo dancing around, you see the coconuts on his mouth. It's a coconut beak. It is odd to me. Why would he have a coconut beak? It was always a coconut bra because that's just the iconic thing with coconuts because you always expect them to be on the boobies, right? But with this Mandela Effect, if you go to the creator, the writer of Baloo in that scene, he even tells you that it would be pretty cool and pretty fun and a great joke to put in the movie if we dress Baloo up as a drag, basically with a skirt and some of the coconut bras on it. Look it up. It is amazing. But what do you remember of this Disney movie with Baloo in that scene dancing around? Do you always remember it the way I remember it with the dress and the coconut bra? Or do you remember it the way it is now and always has been, the dress and the coconut beak? Number 3 on the list, we are going to be talking about the man in the iron mask, and particularly the mask. Yes, the mask, the iron mask. Now, in my reality, I have always believed that it was the iron steel mask. As you see in the movies, it was an iron steel mask. Well, apparently, it has never been an iron mask. They never made iron masks like that because it would be hard and stuff and all that kind of crazy shit. But apparently, that iron mask was never iron. It has just been velvet. Apparently the man in the iron mask never wore a metal mask. It was a black velvet, yes, black velvet mask. It is odd, it is weird, eerie, kind of crazy because like a velvet mask, it just seems so nice and soft on your face. But what do you remember? Do you remember the man in the iron mask wearing and hearing about an iron mask? Or do you remember it the way it is now, being a velvet mask? Number 2, we're going to be talking about that iconic song, Barbie Girl. Yes, Barbie Girl, we know that song. You're singing it right now in your head. I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. It's fantastic, made of plastic. Well, what if I told you she's not a Barbie in a Barbie world? She's a Barbie in the Barbie world. Listen.
You wanna go for a ride?
Sure can.
Jump in.
I'm a Barbie girl in the Barbie world. Life in plastic, it's fantastic. I'm a Barbie girl in the Barbie world.
I'm a Barbie girl in the Barbie world. Yes, that is the Mandela Effect in the Barbie world. Like me, probably like you, and probably like thousands or millions of other people too in the world, I remember I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. Never the Barbie world. That is so weird, ironic. I'm just kind of flipped out about that because I remember this damn song in the club scene. I remember this damn song all over MTV. You heard this song all through the summers. Man, it was just, I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. It's fantastic. Not I'm a Barbie girl in the Barbie world. That is so odd to me. But what do you remember? Do you remember it like I remember it? I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world, or I'm a Barbie girl in the Barbie world. Now, number one on the list, and it deserves the number one spot for this list. I'm talking about the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment Center, the console that rebirthed video gaming itself. And I'm talking about the way you put in your cartridge and you play your game. Yes, in my life, my reality, I've always thought and was taught to put in your cartridge and push the cartridge down into the set before the game plays. Well, apparently, you've never had to push your cartridge down in the game system for the game to play. Yes, you heard me right. You never had to push it down. Apparently, it has always been and always has been, you can put your game in and leave it staying right up in the cartridge, right in the case without pushing it down. Yes, you heard me. You never had to push it down. It is odd to me. It's so weird because I owned one when I was a kid, and a lot of us own it, and you knew what you had to do to get your game to play because it wouldn't play up. You had to push your game down. You even had to and push it down where it had that little click on it where you could just get it just right. But apparently you never had to push it down. It is so odd. And here's the instructions actually from the Nintendo system and from the old systems, and look at it tells you to push it down. Y'all can look it up. Y'all can do what you want to do. Y'all can come at me and say, no. But it is true. You never had to push your Nintendo cartridge down to get your game to play. You could actually just leave it sitting up in the cartridge thing. But what do you remember? Do you remember you had to push it down to get the game to play? Or do you remember not pushing it down and just sliding it in? Please let me know down below. Good, my crazies. Yes, y'all, welcome back to the lab. Lee here in the Stoop, man, and y'all saw that title too as well. We got 8 more new Mandela effects to blow your mind. Yes, 8 new Mandela effects to get you going as well. A few of these are from the viewers. But with that said, before we get going, man, y'all remember that some of these Mandela effects might not be new to you, but they are new to somebody else. So please respect that, as well as, man, leave your comments down below about any Mandela effects that you enjoyed, as well as any that you see and I would like to talk about, as well as hit that thumbs up and subscribe because you know that helps the channel tenfold. Now, with that said, let's get this going. Let's get these 8 Mandela effects for you. Let's start off with number 8. And I'm starting off with Dorothy. Yes, the Wizard of Oz and Dorothy. And this one comes from DKY. And I'm talking about technically her shoes. Yes, the ruby slippers that she wears. Now, in my reality, a lot of realities, as well as DKY's reality, he remembers those ruby slippers just being basically red and ruby and slippers. It never had a bow on it like it does now in the movies and the pictures. You see a red bow on top of her slippers. Yes. Do you always remember that bow on her slippers? Or do you remember it like I remember and DKY remembers it with no slipper? With that too as well, the next Mandela effect on this one, because we're still on number 8 and we're still on the Wizard of Oz, I'm going to be talking about her socks. Yes, Dorothy's socks have changed. Now I'm going to bring up a picture of Dorothy and how I remember her socks looking. I remember her wearing white socks with her outfit. Well, apparently it has never been white socks. It has changed. The Mandela effect has hit the Wizard of Oz once again, like it always has. And now Dorothy is wearing these blue socks. They look kind of odd. They do look matchy, but they do look odd. I remember the white socks just because back in the days, there really wasn't many colored socks to do that with. And white just sticks out because it brings out the rubies and the red and the slippers. So what do you remember of this one? Do you always remember like I remember the white socks? Or do you remember the way it is now and always has been with the blue socks? Now, number 7 on our list, we're going to go to that classic television show that all the girls watched, man, even the men did watch too. I'm talking about Sex in the City. Yes, you heard me say Sex in the City because that is exactly how I remember it in my reality and how many people remember it in their realities too. But apparently it has never been Sex in the City. It has always been Sex and the City. But for all you people saying, now it's always been Sex and the City. Well, to me and to a lot of it's been Sex in the City, and I have proof right here. Check it out.
The taste of New York. My recipe's infused with Times Square, the Bronx Zoo, and the Sex in the City walking tour.
At one point, I want to be red, and you just stuck with
Yeah,
it.
I had been sort of toying with it, and then when I got cast in Sex in the City, they decided 3 blondes would probably be too much, so.
Right. Well, it looks great.
Thank
Looks
you,
fantastic.
thank you,
I'm going to
thank you. I
start
like
actually
it.
getting mine next.
As you see right there, one of the stars in Sex in the City even describes and says Sex in the City. Now, why would she say Sex in the City? Only reason why she would say that is because it was Sex in the City. But what do you remember? Do you remember it like I remember it, like she remembers it, and many people other remember it as Sex in the City? Or do you remember it the way it is now and how it always has been, Sex and the City? Now, number 6 on our list comes from Side Cloud, and I'm talking about that great classic Christmas carol from Bing Crosby, and I'm talking about the 12 Days of Christmas. Yes, the 12 Days of Christmas, we have sung this every Christmas. I sung it in chorus, and you know the lyrics, you're singing it now. Yes, on the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me. Well, what if I told you that your true love didn't give you anything, gave you diddly squat? Your true love sent it to me. Yes, on the first day of Christmas, my true love sent to me is now what the lyrics are and have always been. It is wild. It also makes no sense too. Why? Because for the 12 days of Christmas, it's a gift that your true love gave to you because it's the 12 days of Christmas. But you're telling me now that your true love sent you something? How? You mean you're not there? You're not there, or she's not there, so your true love sent to me now? So she's not there? What happened to the true love being there to give you these gifts? But what do you remember? Do you remember it like I remember it and like millions of other people remember it? My true love gave to me? Or do you remember like it's always been now in this damn universe? My true love sent to me. Number 5 on this list, it blew my mind. I gotta shout out Moneybag73 for this, not also for coming over to the channel, throwing a comment down and saying how he loves me, but as well as for showing me this Mandela effect of my 80s, man. And I'm talking about The Lost Boys. Yes, that great cult vampire movie of The Lost Boys. And I'm talking about Michael's sunglasses. Yes, Michael's iconic sunglasses in this movie have changed. It blows my mind. Throwing pictures up for you right now. Yes, you do see those sunglasses. Do they look awfully weird for you? Yes, they look weird to me. Now in my reality, many realities, as well as Moneybags 37's reality, he remembers those glasses being straight black. Why? Straight black. That's exactly how I remember them too. Straight blacked out glasses, black on the sides, black around the rims, black. But apparently they've never been that way. Apparently they've had that silver lining on the side, a silver across the stuff, and it just looks so out of place, especially for an 80s movie of this caliber. It is just boggling to see this and just be in awe. But what do you remember? Do you remember the glasses being the way they are now with that silver brim looking too 90s, 2000-ish? Or do you remember it like I remember it, being straight black, all the way black, kind of those straight black Ray-Bans we all are used to, accustomed of seeing? Let me know. Them damn vampires. Number 4 on this list comes from Rob, and I'm a little bit weird about this one too as well. I'm not quite sure. Maybe my mind is crazy. Maybe I haven't played this in a while, but I'm talking about Super Mario Bros. World 1, Stage 1, and I'm talking about the different sections of where the flower and the magic star was. Yes, the flower and the star. Now, he believes, kind of like I do believe too, where this star is in the wrong place when you receive the star. It is kind of weird, kind of odd. I don't understand why they would put that star towards the end. It's just odd to me, but for some reason, it vaguely, maybe I'm flipping back into universes, I do remember that star being there. But what do you remember? Do you remember the star being where that flower was? Or do you remember exactly where that star is now? Because that one kind of got me a little weird, a little bit there. And number 3 on our list, we're going to The Matrix. I'm going to be talking about Agent Smith, or Mr. Smith yourself. Yes, Mr. Anderson. Yeah, I'm talking about his necktie. Yes, his tie indeed, and it's changed in all of them. And some people might disagree of what it is, but yes, his tie. Now, as you see this picture right here, look at his tie and look at the tie clip. Does that look weird to you? Look odd? Do you ever remember Agent Smith having a tie clip? Now, before you great Matrix people come at me, and those non-believers of the Matrix and the Mandela Effect, before you come at me, yes, I know in number 2, Reloaded, yes, the agents did have clip ties on their ties. That's what made the difference of the agents in those and Mr. Smith himself. Mr. Smith never had a clip tie. As I throw these pictures up for you right here, as these are the toys, the marketed line toys that were distributed around the world for you to buy, and you do not see a tie clip at all. You do not see a single tie clip on any of those toys. But what do you remember? Do you remember the tie clip being where it is on Mr. Smith the entire time in all of these movies? Or do you remember, like I remember, Mr. Smith, Agent Smith, not having a tie? Number 2 on our list is going to come from that classic horror movie that started it all, The Candyman. Yes, The Candyman. And how many times are you supposed to say Candyman? Well, in my reality, and a lot of other people's reality, you had to say Candyman 3 times. Yes, 3 times you had to say his name in the mirror with the lights off. That is how I remember it. That's how millions others remember it. But apparently, you never had to say it 3 times. Apparently, it has always been 5. Here, take a look.
What's that thing again?
What thing?
You know? Say what 5 times in the mirror?
You tell me. You proofread the press release, Jerica. Candyman.
You have to say his name 5 times for him to appear. Now, I know many people might get this misconstrued and misflipped around and maybe thinking that we're thinking this wrong because of, Bloody Mary. You had to say Bloody Mary's name 3 times. Or, as Beetlejuice, you said Beetlejuice's name 3 times, he'd appear. Well, that is not the case in my memory. I know each and every one of those, that's just part of, my history of growing up. We all have that anchor of a mind that we remember certain things for certain reasons. And I always remember saying Candyman's name 3 times, never 5. But what do you remember? Do you remember the way it is now, how it has always been saying his name 5 times? Or do you remember it like I remember it and other millions of people remember it, just saying his name 3 times? Now, number 1 on this list is going to go back to The Matrix and that infamous saying that we apparently got wrong and we apparently have never heard, and you know what I'm talking about. What if I told you that everything was a lie? Everything you knew was a lie. What if I told you that what if I told you was never said in The Matrix at all? Well, that is right. It was never said. It was never put in The Matrix. It was never that. And we apparently have never heard it. But in my reality, and millions of realities, we do remember Morpheus saying, what if I told you everything that you know is a lie? And, well, here's a little bit of the famous quotes from that movie of him saying, what if I told you? Now, how can we misconstrue this whole thing? Because this is what the Matrix was about, and that was just that significant line because we all use it. I use it in my damn psychedelic adventures. What if I told you all of this isn't real? What if I told you all of this is a lie? What if I told you that you are in the Matrix? You know, what if I told you was that scene of the line? And that is just one of those iconic lines. With that too as well, the Mandela effect on this one too, as well as exactly where he said that. Now, some people say he said that when he was meeting Neo for the first time. What if I told you you were living a lie? Some people also remember him saying this when he's walking through the Matrix with the lady in the red dress and he flips around. You know how that goes in. What are you saying? I can dodge bullets. But what do you remember? Where do you remember that saying being said at? And do you remember Morpheus saying, what if I told you? Let me know down below. There you go, 8 more new Mandela effects to blow your mind, a couple in the bonuses too as well. Man, if you enjoyed any of those, man, remember to hit that thumbs up. Leave those comments about what you thought about these and yours as well. And don't forget to subscribe because let's get there, let's get it going again. With that, man, I appreciate each and every one of you. And you remember, man, y'all keep your mind open because of those eyes will see everything in front of you.
Hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without you. A world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries. A world where anything is possible. Where we go from there is a choice I leave to you.